Well, I imagine with you being in the original film, being the custodian of this film was very important to you.
You know, it was because sort of by default or either by choice or a mix of both, over the last 10 or 12 years, I kind of feel like I'm that custodian or gatekeeper because I've been contacted so many times as sort of that front person. And what's great about that is I've been able to, one, when I get a chance, bring everybody else in or other reps or anything, we all get together and experience this kind of crazy loyal fan base for the Monster Squads. We get to go to conventions and screenings and autograph shows. And how many people get to do that, 30 years after the fact? So I love getting to share that with everybody involved. And so that dynamic that you just mentioned specifically, along with all these stories that we hear from these fans over the last 10 or 12 years, since kind of the relaunch and the resurgence of the Monster Squad, I thought those stories would kind of cool out or wane down or slow down over the year. They're only getting more and they're only getting stronger. And you start to realize that there's something there. And that Monster Squad fans are really connected with people a lot deeper than they're connected with a lot of other movies. And, about 2 years ago or so, I wanted to find a way, how do I make those stories a story? And I had this crazy idea about, let's make a documentary. We can shoot it during the 30th anniversary year, which is coming up next year. And that kind of got on the side burner for a little bit because I got busy with some other stuff. And I was like, no, I've got some time. And what that missed time was the serendipity happening of hooking up with my producer, Henry McComas, and 1620 Media and Pilgrim Media Group. And that was the perfect timing that could ever happen to bring what we've got, because we got to go on all those events anyway. But now I had an amazing, passionate, heartfelt, and technically skilled bunch of production guys to come along this ride with me, and they just kind of took it, and we drove this crazy cruise ship around for the year with all this gear and got all these great stories. You can't tell every story, right? But how much can you mash in 90 minutes? And I love what we have. I think it tells the story, and it's a story about a relationship between fans and their favorite movie, but it goes beyond the Monster Squad, really. It goes, how films can impact people, how your favorite book can impact people, how maybe even it's just your favorite TV show or a piece of art or, that favorite song that you heard when you were growing up. And anytime, we all grow up. Growing up sucks. It's terrible. We all want to know what we know now, but still be that kid and have that zeal and that zest and that unknowing enthusiasm. And so that's why we go back. That's why we go watch our movies, or we or listen to our songs, or watch our TV shows. That's why we collect stuff. And you can walk by your favorite poster in your den and go, I feel good now. And so we capture that a little bit.
It's emotional resonance, isn't it, really?
It really is. And everybody that's connected with something, which is all of us, you just got to find whatever that is. And that's what we wanted this documentary to actually kind of bring out even more. No matter what that is, go back to that feeling of when you connected with that one thing. And what is that? We just happen to tell that connection energy through the lens of Monster Squad fans.
And of course, you've got your own recollections of being a part of the original movie. But then when you go on this other journey, there must be so much more that you were like, God, I didn't even know that. So you must have learned a lot too.
Without a doubt. Not only were we trying to make a movie, which is a big deal, and you got to have a lot going on, but you're on a journey yourself. And I was kind of doing 3 different things all year long with this documentary. We're directing it, we're producing it, we're pulling gear. I'm also appearing at things, so you got to, you're servicing the fans and hanging out with them while you're making something else. And it almost kind of flies by you. And then after you're done, you sit back and you kind of, what just happened? What was this year? And it was fascinating. And I was flying through this production trying to make this documentary that I was trying not to make about me. It's not about us as a cast. It's not a definitive making of the movie doc. It's not even that fan doc. It's something different. It's a little bit deeper and a little bit multi-layered there. And then I realized after the fact that, because I was, as the filmmaker and as someone who's made a very big point, that I didn't want this documentary to be about me. And I still think I'm in this documentary too much. But I was told, very correctly so by Henry, who's an awesome filmmaker, that you're a part of this story. You're a part of it, so you're okay. And then I realized at the end that a lot of people ask me, but I don't see you in the documentary sitting down telling your story like we see everybody else's great experiences. And that was sort of on purpose. But then I realized that in this documentary, that's all those things. I really see this documentary as telling stories that come full circle with a number of individuals, a group of individuals, and a fan collective as a whole. It's a full circle story. And I realized that my story is this documentary. So it really hit me one day when I realized that out of the blue, and I said, wow, maybe my full circle story is making this documentary and telling the stories about the stories that I've heard for so long and getting it out there and letting other people enjoy that. So hopefully it works, and hopefully people like it. So that's what we really tried to do. So
I would imagine as well, when you're talking it like that, because you're so personally invested, that when you're working with your editor, he's that sounding board that can go, actually, you know what, Andre, pull it back a bit, and give you that kind of person to just bounce off, really, and help you bring perspective and a bit of distance to it.
Well, it was, and that's something, you know, when you're sort of a control monster or you're really detail-oriented, it's something from the very beginning that, and it only because of the confidence I had in Henry and the team, that I don't have to be right there and over the shoulder or making sure of this, making sure of that. Although, because we worked so well together, we didn't have to do that to each other. And Henry would go out, like those guys, they edited this movie as we went because we shot so much stuff over the year. They couldn't have finished it if we waited till the end. And so that was amazing. And then Henry would go and make cuts, and he tells that this movie changed 7 or 8 times as we were cutting it. And when I would see something, the next cut a week later, it would be a little bit different or completely different. And as we kept getting more interviews or different stuff, and it fit, and then the story changed and it evolves and it grows, and he did an amazing job of crafting the story that we set out to tell.
Oh, I was going to hold your microphone. Hello, this is April O'Neil. There's been some turtles in the sewers.
So, Monster Squad, tell us more about the documentary and why it was so important for you to do a retrospective of it.
Absolutely. Andre Gower and I are here with Wolfman's Got Nards, a documentary. The documentary is about the relationship between an audience and a movie they love. It's about cult film, and it's about the horror community. And it's all told through the lens of The Monster Squad, which is a movie that released in 1987. And when it released, not many people showed up, and the critics weren't very nice. But over a 30-year span, it became a classic.
I think there's a certain element of, and a desire of nostalgia, isn't there? And I think these films of the 80s certainly bring that, don't they?
Yes, an alternate title for our movie could be 80s Nostalgia, the documentary. Right now is perfect. We have things like It, we have things like Stranger Things. We're all remembering about a time when we didn't have cell phones, but we had bicycles and flashlights, and we want to go back to that time period. And this documentary will take you there.
Was it difficult to kind of logistically get this film together? Were the people behind? I mean, obviously Andre was connected to the original anyway, but was it easy to find those people and get them on camera to talk about?
The thing about the horror community is they're all supporters of each other. So everybody wanted to be in the doc. And when we told them and we put on the green light and we're like, hey, we're making a movie about the Monster Squad, who wants to talk about it? Everybody said, we do. So that was pretty awesome.
Are you talking to fans as well, or is it just the filmmakers?
We do talk to fans as well, because you have to have the film and the people behind the screen and in front of it, as well as the audience that shows up.
And Monster Squad was very much a homage to the Universal monsters. So how important was that to obviously include into the documentary as well?
Extremely important. So we went back, and if you like Universal monsters, you're going to love this movie. We have all kinds of stories about how they created their own effects for the Universal monsters instead of just co-opting the original ones because of some legal issues. We spill all the tea.
And we're also going back to a time where the effects were still practical. So was that something else that you wanted to touch upon, the special effects side?
100%. We have an entire scene dedicated to the special effects and the practical effects, because practical effects are the best, and we should get rid of CGI and only do practical in horror movies.
And you're here at Frightfest, the home of horror. What's it like being here?
It's amazing. We've been to a bunch of festivals. I think I've showed up in appearance to about 6 of them. Frightfest has been my favorite festival experience. They treat us great. The curation is awesome, and you get to be yourself here.